right, welcome everybody. It's Chris Powers with another edition of Talking Sports with Chris Powers. And, of course, got lots to talk about today. We got Sheldon Mickles from the Advocates going to be on to talk about LSU basketball. We have Coach Beth Torina from the LSU softball team, the only still undefeated team in the nation, is going to be with us on the program. We'll also talk to Reggie about Southern University athletics, and particularly Fred McNair, the former All-Corn coach, coming to Baton Rouge and to be one of the assistants for the Southern University Jaguars. We'll do that coming up here today on the show. Hey, seen in over 2 million households from the New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and also in the Morgan City area. Whether you're watching us on the Pelican Sports channel from Cox Cable, or you're looking at the Pelican Sports app or the YouTube channel, thank you so much for being here. Great sponsors like TJ Ribs, Attorney Tony Clayton, and the Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival. We're seen on 5 times a week, so you can catch us here plenty of times. LSU Lady Tigers in the SEC championship game yesterday, and the one thing I looked at, this is not a disciplined team. As much as Kim Mulkey talks to the media, she's rough with the media, she's rough here and there, she needs to be rough on her players, and she needs to get this under control immediately. And I'm going to explain everything. It wasn't just their fault about the big fight yesterday. We're going to talk about that. I think the officials should have controlled it from the get-go, because I'm going to tell you, after Angel Reese got her flagrant foul for throwing an elbow, there were 2 more elbows thrown by LSU players right after that. That's when you get on top of them. After the first elbow thrown by Angel Reese, you get on your team and you tell them, no more of this. Stop it now. And both coaches were surprised that the fight happened and apologized. You should have known that. Look, I'm courtside doing play-by-play, and I know if something's about to happen. The referee should have stepped in and said, we're going to start throwing people immediately if this happens. Period, bottom line. And so one person got thrown out of the ball game, which was Cardoso, which is the South Carolina player, for pushing down Johnson. But at the same time, then all the bench players got thrown out. Now, Cardoso's going to miss the first game of the NCAA tournament. They're going to play against a weaker opponent anyway. It's not going to be a big deal for South Carolina. But the problem, all the LSU bench players got thrown, where number 23 did not leave the bench. She was standing in front of the bench, and another player with the warm-up, I couldn't see what number she was. She didn't leave the bench, but they got tossed, and one player for South Carolina gets to stay on. They said she didn't leave the bench. To be honest with you, when I looked at the replay and I went back and forth at it, she went closer to the scores table than the 2 LSU players did. So I think they totally messed all that up. They messed everything up into that nature, and it was just a bad situation. But the one thing, and I'll say, it's not just a fight that happened with the discipline problem that I see with this LSU team. Bad passes. They've done this all season long. Bad passes. Why do you have the bad passes? They had 13 turnovers in the first half, which is bad. And South Carolina scored 16 points off those turnovers, which makes it double bad. You can't do that. Off-balance shots out of desperation, like it's down to the buzzer. I'm seeing Haley Van Lith take a shot and a layup. She's falling, losing balance. She goes up to shoot the shot. It went 3 feet over her head, didn't even come close to the rim. Pass the ball out. Stop taking these off-balance shots. You're not the Harlem Globetrotters. And that's what I would say. I'd immediately stop that if I'm Coach Kim Mulkey at the beginning of the season. Look, I love Coach Kim Mulkey. I'm not here to say that I don't like her. I wanted her to come 100 years ago. But you got to have more. To me, I'm telling those players, stop doing that. I mean, they're taking acrobatic shots. You look like you're a Harlem Globetrotter, and you're not. You're not a Harlem Globetrotter. Take your time, shoot the ball. If you feel you ain't got a shot because you're off balance or what have you, pass the rock to somebody else. Now, obviously, they need to get more depth for next year. They had some players kicked off the team. One player kicked off the team. One player hurt. Somebody was hurt. You know, her knee, she had surgery on her knee. She's out. They have no depth on their team, which means that I'm telling all of you fans now, they lost only by 7 yesterday, but I'm telling you that this will not be a championship team. For you not to have a bench. Remember in the championship game last year, LSU won because their bigs got hurt. Got foul trouble early, and they came off the bench and had an unbelievable bench. And that's propelled them to win the national championship last year. They don't have that bench this year. So the fast pace that they were running yesterday, LSU can't do that. So all the other teams are writing that down. I'm playing LSU in the NCAA tournament, run. So guess what? By the fourth quarter, all of the starting 5, because they're only using 7 players. And with Poa out yesterday, 6 players total. So then you're going to have basically they're going to run out of gas in the fourth quarter. And I don't care what Reese said that at the press conference. No, I could go another quarter. Well, no, you wouldn't run up and down the court. They were making too many easy layups on the breakaways. So that's one thing. Without a bench, you're not going to be able to do it. Milky will fix that. I still love this team. Do they have a shot at making the Final Four? Yeah, they do. Anybody could do that because they proved that they can play. It was only their 5th loss. But notice again, 5 losses. Last year they had 2 losses. They had a good bench last year. 5 losses this year. 5 losses. And that shows you right there. They'll be a team, but I don't think they'll make the Final Four. I think somewhere in the tournament they're going to get beat. Could be deep. Like I said, I think they could be a 2nd seed next week. We'll know on Sunday. They could be a 2nd or a 3rd seed on Monday. And with that, they're going to play the number 2 seed or the number 1 seed in the Sweet 16. And that's as far as I think they might go. I think they'll win their 2 games here in Baton Rouge they're going to have. But when they come into that, and look, I'm pulling for them because I'm sitting there, last year's national championship game, I'm sitting there like it was a football game on the edge of my seat. I literally was on the edge of my seat. It was so intense for that game, it was not even funny and just, unbelievable to see that. Look, Mulkey is a championship caliber coach. She is the best. She's a championship caliber, and she knows what I'm saying right now. She knows it. It's nothing surprise to her. She knows exactly what's going on. And sometimes she comes out and says it. Sometimes she don't. But she said this in the press conference, the way the sloppy play, the turnovers. She said that in the first interview on the courtside yesterday. Turnovers. Can't do that. And if you think coaching don't matter, how's Tennessee without Coach Pat Summitt? Are they the same program? No. How about Indiana without Bobby Knight? Have they been relevant since Bobby Knight's gone? No. How about Tom Osborne at Nebraska football? Have they been relevant since Tom Osborne left Nebraska? No. I mean, coaching makes the difference. And Kim Mulkey is a championship-style coach. I mean, even when she says she decides to retire, we got to keep her on some way at LSU. Some way we got to keep her on. Because how many years she has left? 10, maybe? With her age? Don't know. All right, so, again, just a bad situation yesterday. I think everything will be okay. Like I said, LSU will win their first 2 rounds of the playoffs, and they could make it to the Elite 8. They could even make it to the Final Four. I don't think they will because of the lack of depth on their team, but you never know. With Kim Mulkey, you can't put anything past her. I said it last year, this team has a great chance to win a national championship. A lot of the beat writers looked at me and said, no, too early. Not yet. Too early. I said, I'm telling you, look at the way they're handling things, and they only lost 2 games. And their second loss was Tennessee in the semifinal game last year. They lost 1 game to South Carolina, and they lost to Tennessee in the SEC championship game last year. And that's it. That's all the games they lost. Now they've lost 5. Now the other thing I'm saying is, we're 0-4 against South Carolina now, Mulkey? 0-4. I mean, are we ever going to beat South Carolina? It's almost like LSU football with Alabama. Come on. It's not a rivalry anymore. If you don't win, it's not a rivalry. And the pushing and shoving and all that stuff, it looks like, we're not beating them. We have to beat them. And like it or not, Coach Staley, you got to give her credit. 5 new players in her starting lineup, and they're undefeated. And they won the SEC championship tournament title again. Regular season title and tournament title again. She's pretty unbelievable as a coach. You got to give it to her. All right, coming up next, we're talking LSU men's basketball. Sheldon Mickles, the beat writer for The Advocate, will join us right here on the show. When we come back, this is Talkin' Sports right here with Chris Powers on Pelican Sports TV.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadian I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and starts a party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the Natty Package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10. The 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival is just around the corner, and the fun begins on Saturday, March 23rd for the Julian Dufresh Strawberry Day in the Park. There'll be a wing cook-off, car show, strawberry auction, bake-off, and more. Plenty of fun for the whole family. Then, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival runs from Friday, April 12th to Sunday, April 14th, with live music, and the parade is on Saturday, April 13th. Get involved in the egg toss and the always popular strawberry eating contest. Of course, get the best strawberries in the world, grown by local farmers. The biggest festival in the South, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival, April 12th through 14th. We'll see you there. All right, welcome back, everybody, here to Pelican Sports TV. Of course, seen in the New Orleans area. 89% of the New Orleans metro area are watching us. That's over half a million people right there. So good to have you here. And, of course, here in Baton Rouge, a good amount of people as well, up to, 340,000. And then in the Lafayette area, we're being watched, too. So good to be here. Our fourth show here, and we're excited. I got an opportunity, Marty, believe it or not, opportunity to throw the first pitch for LSU softball. And this was a couple of years ago. And Beth and her staff were so great. Coach Beth and her staff were so great. I had a friend of mine at the stadium who was going to ask me if I'm doing it soft or I'm going to do it like they did. And I practiced doing it like that and couldn't do it because they were lined up on base paths. I couldn't do it, so I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to kill anybody. So I did it soft hand. I had a great time. I still have the ball. LSU Lady Tigers softball team opened up SEC play with a sweep over number 21 Kentucky this weekend. And, of course, the only undefeated team in the nation right now at 22-0. We've got head coach Beth Torina on the line with us right now. She has 514 wins at LSU, 643 wins in her career. And she's had 13 years at LSU, 17 seasons overall. She is 13 wins away from being the all-time coaching champion at LSU, passing Yvette Giroir. And congratulations on that, Coach. Coach Beth Torina joins us right now. Coach, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you. Anytime you're mentioned in the same sentence with Yvette Giroir, you know you're living right. So she's the GOAT, man. She is softball in Louisiana. So I'm proud to be following in her footsteps every day.
13 years already, Coach. 13 years at LSU. Isn't that crazy?
Lucky 13. Here we are.
Unbelievable. It just seems like it's just yesterday. And, you know, when the Florida job was going to open up, I was so worried that you were going to go to Florida, and everybody was worried about that. You didn't, and it didn't open up, and you stayed here at LSU, thank goodness. And I know that you're happy with the amount of wins that you have this year, 22-0, and obviously all the 643 wins total. But I know you'd like that fifth trip to Oklahoma for the Women's World Series championship tournament.
Skip Urban always told me it took him 5 trips to win it, so I've known always this 5th trip is going to be a big one. So got to get the right group for that one.
No question. You returned 18 players, Coach, from last year's team, and hitting seems to be a key for this team this year. Your slugging percentage is 17th best in the country at .560. You are 5th in walks drawn at 88 this season. So your team, your veteran team, and you've talked about that on TV in the interviews, that it looks like your veteran team is very patient at the plate.
Yeah, they've done a good job, and it's been a big emphasis this year for us to swing decisions and making good choices at the plate. I think it's a big reason for our success.
And your fielding percentage has improved as well. You're at .981, which is 12th in the nation. That's pretty damn good.
Well, you can attribute that to having a 2-time Gold Glover out in center field and to having the best shortstop in the country. So we've got some great defenders in this group. Also, we have the all-SEC defensive first baseman that sometimes goes unnoticed, the things she does, or you come to expect them even though they're not easy at all.
No question. And then, Coach, so you lost two infielders, Coffee at third base. Sierra Daniel comes in, and she looks solid, batting .478 in 10 games and 11 hits going into that Kentucky matchup. .973 fielding percentage into the series against Kentucky. Had a throwing error on Saturday. But then you have Carly Petty goes out. She had surgery at the beginning of the year, but now she came back this weekend. So you have a solid infield as well.
We do, and we're really lucky to have our depth. Losing a player like Danica is really tough, just with all she brings to us. But the fact that we have some depth and we have these really talented freshmen seems to kind of ease the blow on that a little bit.
No question about that. And just, plus, what an unbelievable play at shortstop yesterday that she made in that double play. She made the tag out at second base and then made a complete 360 circle and threw it to first base for the double play, an important double play with that.
Yeah, I think I was all the way out there at second base with her. By the time it was over, giving her I wanted to chest bump her, high five, all the things. It was pretty awesome.
And her name is Pleasant, but here in Louisiana it'd be called Plaisant. Plaisant.
Yes, but she's not from Louisiana.
Right,
so
right.
We claim her at this point, 5 years in. So, but yes, she is from Houston, Texas.
That's right, and she's very good. She's so big. When she gets on that plate, she's towering. But she's very good. I love her swing. She got a sweet, sweet swing, too.
She does. She's the best of the best. I think she's just the best in the country, and I will stand firm on that. I don't need anybody's comments because you're not going to change my opinion. She is the best of the best.
No question about that. And, Coach, obviously, tomorrow, what a big game that is right here in Baton Rouge against Texas. They got beat this weekend by Houston. They were the number one team in the nation. The polls haven't come out yet that I've seen. But what a big matchup that's going to be tomorrow at 11 a.m. It's going to be Kids Day, and some kids are off this week with spring break. So if you're listening and watching this show right now, go over to Kids Day. I'm telling you, Coach, it is such a great atmosphere. If you've never been to watch an LSU softball game, it's a lot of fun. I've been to several games. The outfield looks like it's carpet. It's fun with the music playing and the players with their chants. I love sitting right there above the dugout, sitting right there, listening to their chants and what have you. It's not a bad seat in the house, Coach.
Well, my seat is the best, and you can have it. So,
right.
Sorry about that. That's the best seat in the house, and I've got to see a lot of great women come through from that seat. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, no question about that. And Coach Howard Dobson, he has been working good with this team. You can see they're hitting the ball a lot better, not popping it up as much as they've had before in the past, and also not leaving runners on base. That's been very key this year too. You haven't left a lot of runners on base.
Yeah, our offensive staff has done a really good job. Howard, he also works with Bryce Neal and Sandra Moten, and they all work together with our hitters. And it's a big task, but they've done a really good job. Just a lot of the things they've implemented this year have been, really good buy-in from our team and have given us a ton of success in these first games.
And, Coach, do you think the way you're winning right now, you either blowing teams out or like in the Kentucky series, you're tied with them, and then basically you find a way to win at some point. And yesterday you pulled away to win. It was tied for the longest time, and then 8-3 final score. So you're just basically finding ways to win right now. Do you think that's going to be able to help your team as you get further and further down the line and get ready for tournament play? Because it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, I think that's, the best thing about this team is that they find ways to win, whether it be winning with a bunt or, winning by outslugging somebody or whatever it might be. I think they've done a really good job of finding ways to win. And they're veterans, so they've been in a lot of these spots. So, they know what it takes at the end of the day, and they're able to get it done.
Well, you went over your 500 mark. How did it feel to you with that? And knowing the way I've interviewed you before on air, knowing you more than likely that you just went past it in the competitive way but I know that you've got to look at 514 wins. That's unbelievable to LSU at one place, 643 total. And I know you told me about Yvette Girard and what have you, but all those coaches that have had all those wins, you're getting in that conversation where you're getting close to those conversations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot to have, been a part of that many games here in the purple and gold. But like I said before, I didn't play in any of those games. Howard and I watched them from the best seat in the house and watched a lot of awesome women that gave their all for LSU. And it's been a really fun journey to see them do that and make so many sacrifices and give so much of themselves for that to happen.
Well, Coach, I thank you so much for taking your busy schedule and taking time to talk to us. I know you're probably going to work with your pitchers and get ready for practice for tomorrow's game. Thank you so much again. We're pulling for you. We're a big fan of yours. You're unbelievable, first-class person and an unbelievable coach at LSU, and we'll be pulling for LSU, and we know that we'll be saying that LSU's going to Oklahoma this year.
I really, really appreciate that. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you today.
Thank you, Coach. All right, Coach Beth Torina, unbelievable. I mean, she's great. After last year losing to the Raging Cajuns, a lot of people were chirping. They lost in the NCAA tournament. Raging Cajuns went on to the Super Regional, lost that, and then, of course, that was done. But the fans were chirping a little bit, and she knows how to build a team. This team right here is loaded in every position, and including pitcher. And so if you're loaded in the field, that's one thing, and you're getting the bats, you're being aggressive on the bats and what have you. But if you have a good pitching staff, that could take you a long way, because you're going to play eventually Oklahoma if you make it to Oklahoma for the Women's World Series, and that could be unbelievable. Just incredible the way they're playing right now. The only undefeated team in the nation at 22-0, and at some point during the show, if the rankings come out, we will let you know what those rankings are. LSU is going to be either at number 2, or don't be shocked if they leapfrog Oklahoma to be number 1 by the end of the day, because of the fact that as far as all of the stats go and what have you, when you put them together, the strength and everything, LSU's number 1 right now in the nation, even over Oklahoma. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when they play Texas tomorrow right here in Baton Rouge. And if I have a meeting at 1 o'clock, I may try to get out of that meeting to go to that game. I want to go to that game as a fan, not as a member of the media. Go as a member of the fan, because I like it a lot. All right, we're going to try to get Sheldon Mickles on the line, talk LSU men's basketball. When we come back, we're talking sports with Chris Powers right here on Pelican Sports TV. The 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival is just around the corner, and the fun begins on Saturday, March 23rd for the Julian Dufresh Strawberry Day in the Park. There'll be a wing cook-off, car show, strawberry auction, bake-off, and more. Plenty of fun for the whole family. Then, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival runs from Friday, April 12th to Sunday, April 14th, with live music, and the parade is on Saturday, April eating contest. Of course, get the best strawberries in the world, grown by local farmers. The biggest festival in the South, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival, April 12th through 14th. We'll see you there.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadian I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and starts a party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the Natty Package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10. This day getting ready. It's March Madness, baby. You got to love it big time. March Madness is here. The Lady Tigers played in the SEC championship game yesterday. They'll get ready on Sunday for Selection Sunday to find out where they're going in the NCAA tournament. Same thing with the guys as well. I leave on Wednesday to go do a tournament on air. I'll be there on tournament on Thursday, Friday, and probably Saturday to do play-by-play, so I'm looking forward to that. And I know that Sheldon Mickles covers the LSU men's basketball team for The Advocate, also for NOLA.com and the Calhoun Times, and also Hall of Fame sports writer. Marty, you always want me to bring in the big guest. How about this guy? He's a Hall of Fame guy. Not many people can say, I'm in the Hall of Fame. Well, Sheldon Mickles can say that. Sheldon, thanks for being on the program with us today, buddy.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Obviously watched you a long time, like I've just mentioned off there, when we covered the Saints for the Jim Mora days. You go into that little locker. We wait outside of the locker room. And then when they open the locker room, you go to the right, go to the players where the players would be, or you go to the left, and that little tiny room with the Saints helmet, I think, was on top. And Jim, we're waiting for Jim Moore to come to the press conference. If they lost, you're looking to see if you're going to get out of there without having any body injury, or if they won, you still didn't know how he'd react. But I know those were fun days, and I know it's different now, right? I think they go underneath the stadium and what have you, and they have a bigger room in that. But you cover LSU now. What made you decide to cover LSU back to your roots? Because you started with LSU for the Advocate, right?
Yeah, and I covered high school sports when I first started at the paper, and then I kind of matriculated a little bit, if you will, to Southern basketball and football, and then I got on the Saints beat and did a little LSU basketball at first, and then when the paper expanded in 2013, they wanted some guys living down in New Orleans, closer to the Saints camp. So they moved me back. Not moved me back because I never left Baton Rouge, but they put me on helping out LSU football and then being LSU men's basketball, and I've been doing that for the last 10 years, and I kind of love it. It's a little more relaxed than the Saints beat, and I go with the flow here with LSU. I'm closer to home, 7 days a week, so it's not bad.
Yeah, I love reading your articles because of the fact you paint that perfect picture, and that's what the older guys do. The younger guys seem to not do that as much anymore. But when I read your articles, I feel that I'm at the stadium or I was at that game when you read after the thing, and that's what I love about your articles. I'm an old-fashioned newspaper guy. I like to have the actual newspaper in my hand and reading it, and I've told all you, Jim Klein, Peter, Perrin Keys, and all those guys. Well, on LSU basketball, since beating South Carolina, this team has won 5 of the last 7 games, scoring 73.5 points per ball game in that stretch. What's been a key for this team during that run?
Well, in the 2 losses, the 2 things that stand out are, the things that hurt them early in the season. Offensive rebounding for the other team, the defensive rebounding on their side, and then turnovers and fast break points. I mean, they've just been real sore spots for this team. But when they get on top of somebody and they're the aggressor and they take care of the ball and shoot the ball well, like most teams, they're going to do well. And even though the SEC is one of the toughest conferences in the league in the country this year, they've done pretty well. Especially like you said, these last 7 games, they've really kind of responded. They were in a funk in the middle of the season, lost some tough games, but then the last 10 games or so, they've really kind of ramped it up and played really good basketball for the most part.
No question. They're seeded number 8 and taking on Mississippi State on Thursday in Nashville. The winner of that game plays number 1 Tennessee on Friday at 12 noon in the quarterfinal round. How do you see them going into the tournament? At least they get a few days off. They got from Sunday all the way till Wednesday, and then they'll start playing on Thursday. But they get a little break now, finally, before they play Thursday in the SEC tournament in Nashville.
Yeah, and obviously they back on the court today for practice on Monday. I'm pretty sure they got a day off yesterday, but which is normal. And then they get an extra day. Normally they play on Tuesday and Wednesday. They don't play till Thursday. They got that first round bye this year. They played Mississippi State just 2 weeks ago, and got handled pretty good by 20 points in the PMAC. And they talked about the physicality of that game. Mississippi State kind of big, and Tolu Smith. They got a 7-footer in the middle, and they got some big burly guys, bulky guys. And LSU didn't handle it very well that night. They were not the aggressor. Mississippi State was the aggressor. They tried to hang with them a little while, and it caught up to them. They just didn't have the energy that it took to get that win, and the physicality. So the first thing you notice is that they were, I don't want to say they were, flat but they just didn't seem like the way they had played against Georgia. Well, Georgia came after, I believe, but they didn't seem the way they played against, say, South Carolina, Kentucky, where they were, running around, jumping around, and it just didn't seem the same that night. So I don't know what it was. If Mississippi State just kind of took it out of them, wore them down or whatever it was, but wasn't a great performance, and I'm sure they're going to be motivated to make sure that doesn't happen again.
No question. Jordan Wright leads the team in scoring with 15.1 per ball game. He scored 14 in the win over South Carolina, including the free throws at the end to take the lead for good, and scored 13 in the next game versus Kentucky. So he's just about getting his average for those games. So I guess my question is, Sheldon, is who is their go-to player in big games? Is it Jordan Wright or Will Baker?
Oh, I think it's Jordan Wright. I mean, when they, we're nothing against Will Baker, because I think he's been a great addition to him. He could pop out, pick and pop and hit the threes from outside. He could get you a little soft touch inside the lane, in the lane, in the paint. He could drive the ball. He could go to the hoop. He do a lot of things. But Jordan Wright, even though he's not shooting the ball that great, he's only around 41% for the year. He hasn't shot the ball that great, but I mean, this guy's been through 155 college games or so, and he's got the body to take the smaller guards inside, and he could drive. He's a three-level scorer. He could drive it. He could shoot from 10, 12 feet. He could hit the three. So I think he's your guy. In that, you mentioned that South Carolina game, I think that was the game where he scored the last 7 points. I mean,
wow.
Without those 7 points, they don't beat South Carolina on the road. So he's been kind of the guy that's kind of taken over, and you want him. He's going to be kind of the guy that you look for in late game situations, and I think he's kind of put the team on his shoulders as Trey Hannibal in these last 10 or 12 games.
Yeah, and you talk about that because, I mean, when he stepped to the free throw line, and not only it was the bottom of the net both times, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, this was down to the wire, a few seconds left. You got to have ice water in your veins. I know he's an 80% free throw shooter at that time, but my goodness, man, you got to be you got to be like nerves of steel to be able to take those two shots like he did, and not just rolls and goals. It went right into the bottom of the sack, both shots.
Yeah, and look, South Carolina is a difficult place to play. Usually it's only, half full, 2/3 full, but that day it was packed to the gills, and, they have a very good team this year, a nicer team. Let's say they're doing better this year, obviously, right. And the people are kind of taken to it and, kind of got behind that team, and they're filling up their arena now, but that could have easily gone the other way against LSU. Or it could have easily gone away, not his way. Nerves could have got to him. But like I said, the guy, he's played about 155 college basketball games, so probably nothing rattles him too much.
When you look at the stat sheets, I think the cumulative stat sheets for the season, they don't put bench points on there and how much they average for the bench points. And I think that's an important part. So when I see it, when I'm doing a game and I'm getting the stat sheets at every time we have a timeout, I look at bench points and I look at points in the paint, but especially bench points, I think it's so important. So I couldn't see their bench points. Are they getting production from their bench this year?
It depends on the game. It goes game by game because one of the things Matt McMahon does, I almost slipped there.
Yeah.
One of the things Matt McMahon does is he goes according to the game, how the flow of the game is going, and for instance, back in the middle of the season, Trey Hannibal was coming off the bench. One game he'd get 5 minutes, another game he'd get 20. So it depends on how the flow of the game is going. So you never know how's it going to be. Jalen Reed's coming off the bench now. Derek Fountain starting. Jalen Reed comes off the bench. Sometimes he'll give you 12, 14 points. Tyrell Ward was coming off the bench earlier. Now he's starting. He would come in. So it's kind of a mixed bag there. I will say this. I almost said Will Wade a little while ago. Well, a couple of years ago, somebody was one of the media members was not myself. Kept asking Will Wade, about the bench points. They weren't getting a lot of bench points, and so Will's response to that was, and I thought it was pretty, it's a logical assumption, a logical reasoning, but Will said, hey, if I wanted to score bench points and make it a big deal, I'd let Cam Thomas come off the bench, a minute into the game and let him score his 25, or whatever. So,
Right.
he didn't think that was a really, really telling stat.
Right.
I know a lot of people point to it, but
Right.
it depends on the situation, I would say.
Because I think right now it's important for the other side, for the LSU Lady Tigers. I think that's going to prevent them, from getting to a championship round is because they don't have a deep bench. I think they have 6 players, and with Poa maybe back, maybe after that concussion, maybe 7 they can use, and I think that's a problem. They ran out of gas in that South Carolina game, and I think that they've got to hope for a half-court game, because if they fast-paced like that yesterday's game South Carolina was doing, you can see they were running out of gas. So that's why I always say bench points are always good. But coaches will tell you, I know, and you've covered sports for a number of years, and I know coaches will always tell you that, especially in football. They'll tell you stats are for losers, but then again, when you ask them another question about 5 questions later, and you say something like your offense seems to be lacking a little bit in the last couple of games. Well, we're number 1 in the conference in scoring and what have you. Well, I thought stats are for losers, Coach.
It's kind of crazy. It
right.
depends on which way the wind is blowing that day,
right.
and and that kind of thing. But it's kind of funny. You go back to LSU women's basketball. We just did a LSU Insider podcast up at the Advocate, Perrin Keys and Scott Rabelais and myself, and a big topic of discussion is going forward, LSU with their bench and then what they had to go through this weekend. I mean, you look at so they lose Samaya Smith at first week of the season or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So they're missing her. Kateri Poole's gone. Michaela Williams was hurt, didn't play the first 2 games in the SEC tournament, and then last year Poa unfortunately gets the injury Saturday night. Then they were at a very distinct disadvantage, and Janae Kent, or I think that's her name, started yesterday, and hit a big 3 and had a couple of baskets there. So, but they're going to need that. Obviously, you would think that last year Poa is going to be back for the NCAA tournament. They wouldn't play for a week and a half here now. So you hope she could come back and get ready and at least give them at least 8 players to maybe pick from, 7 or 8, and so you hope that's the case, that she could come back quickly. I know that kid at Alabama, Wrightsell, Latrell Wrightsell, he had a concussion and he missed about 4 games. So you're hoping that she could come back quicker than that. Wrightsell's back now; he looked okay. I saw him play the other day, but it's a tricky thing depending on the severity of that concussion.
I saw Scott Rabelais put an article today out that said that the officials were just as much to blame for that fight than anybody, and I agree with him. I mean, I said at the beginning of the deal, I can't believe, because when Angel Reese threw that first elbow, there were 2 other elbows after that, and until the instant replays, the play-by-play people didn't know that the 2 elbows were thrown. So, you have to – the officials should have stopped everybody at that point when Reese threw that elbow. They should have pulled both teams. You've seen that on the court covering LSU and what have you. They pulled them to the court, and they talked to them and say, settle down, because I'm telling you, we're going to start teeing some people up right now if you keep this up, because there was hair pulling, there was pushing going on and what have you, and then at the end it caused that big fight, and I think that was bad. I think the officials are just to blame for anybody for that big fight yesterday.
Well, that was a big topic of discussion, and a point I brought up was I told Perrin, I said, we don't know. We didn't see what went on during timeout. If the officials went and talked to each team, talked to the head coaches. But I told him the 2 things that stood out to me in that situation. One, in a championship game, whether it be SEC championship game, NCAA championship game, the officials are going to tend to let them play, and especially in the NCAA championship game. But probably the SEC championship game, you hope those are the 3 best officials the SEC has.
Right.
And, I don't know what they did or didn't do during timeout. I don't know if they grabbed Angel Reese, during a timeout and said, look, we need to cool it. They should have done it if they didn't. I'm not gonna assign any blame to them because I don't know the whole situation. But like you said, normally you bring the 2 coaches together and say, okay, enough of this. We're gonna call the game. We're gonna let them play. within the boundaries of the game. But when it starts getting elbows and half pulling and stuff like that,
right,
people are going to start getting technicals, and that's what should have happened. And if they didn't do it, maybe they should have thought about it.
no question about that. Going back to the men, let's say so they win their first game against Mississippi State. They go to the quarterfinals and they beat Tennessee, or they get close to Tennessee, or maybe let's say they beat Tennessee. They make it to the semis on Saturday. Sheldon, does this team have a chance to be a bubble team at all? I know if they win the tournament, they automatically get a bid, but does this team have a chance at all to be a bubble team?
I don't think so. That ranking as of yesterday was 91. That's below. I would have to think now they will get a bump if they were to beat Mississippi State and Tennessee. If they were to do both of those, win both of those games, they would get a pretty good bump because it's on a neutral floor against two teams that are going to make the NCAA tournament. Mississippi State may be kind of wavering a little bit, but I just don't think it's enough. You look at a very similar situation, Vanderbilt last year and Jordan Wright. They won a bunch of games at the end. They beat Kentucky twice in 10 days or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And then they went to the SEC tournament and they won 3 games in the SEC tournament. Yeah, they won Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They got to the semis on Saturday and lost to Kentucky. And they finished like 21-12 maybe. I think it was something like that, 21-13. And they didn't get to go. They had to settle for the NIT. So I'm not saying it's the same exact situation, but it's kind of similar. Kind of you dug yourself a hole early, and it's kind of late to dig yourself out unless you were to, if they won 3 games, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and got to the championship game, I still don't know if that would be enough.
Yeah, obviously NIT, they've been there 8 times. 5 times since 2000. That's crazy. So they would accept an NIT because it seems to be like always in the days that LSU wouldn't go to the NITs, but I guess now they would. Because the NIT changed this year to where they do not, like for instance, like in the SWAC. If the SWAC wins a regular season title, that regular season champ goes automatically to the NIT, and then if somebody else wins the tournament title, they go to the NCAA tournament, and you get an automatic bid to the NIT if you win the regular season. But they took that out now, so there's more opportunities for teams like an LSU to go to the NIT. You think LSU would go to the NIT?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt. I mean, Matt McMahon's not looking ahead, and when we asked him about it about 10 days ago or so, and he goes, without a doubt, they would go to the NIT.
Okay.
It just affords you another stepping stone for this program. Going from 2 wins a year ago in the SEC to 9 this year, finishing, tied for 7. It's a great stepping stone. It'll be a great reward for these players who, guys like Jordan Wright and Will Baker and Trey Hannibal. You would feel good for them that they able to play in the NIT if that were to happen. And you're very correct about it. And they could even host a game in the PMAC if the rule is in the Power 6 conferences in basketball, they're going to get 2 automatic spots in the NIT. So if let's say 8 teams get in the SEC, they would go to the net rankings and it would be the next 2 teams. And right now LSU is would be the number 10 team. Mm-hmm. If only 7 get in the NCAA, they would be out. But I think their resume is good enough, beating South Carolina on the road, beating Kentucky at home. I'm trying to think of some, they beat Wake Forest, who's playing very well right now, and probably will make the NCAA tournament. So I think their resume would be good enough to be the 3rd SEC team to go to the NIT, even if they're not the top 2. Now, the top 2 from the SEC and all the other Power 6 conferences, they are guaranteed of a home game. So if LSU would finish in the top 2 that didn't make the NCAA tournament, they would host the game.
Oh, wow.
If they were the 3rd team to get picked, they would go on the road probably.
Wow. Well, I got to run into John Brady the other day. I was sat down. I was at a Southern game about to do the play-by-play, and I look over, and I see this guy staring at me, and I look at him, and I covered John Brady too when he first came to LSU, but he had more hair then. Not much more, but he had more hair. But anyway, I saw him, and he was looking at me, and he smiled at me, and I smiled at him, and he recognized who I was, and he came over and he started talking to me. When he and I talked, I said, man, I bet you don't like. I bet you're glad that you're out of the game now. I'm not a big fan of the one and done. And he asked me why. I said that doesn't build compatibility to the team. I mean, you don't build consistency to the team either. One and done is just not fun to me anymore. The ratings are down for college basketball. TV ratings down for regular season. Still picks up for the tournament time. But John Brady told me, as he's still doing the color analyst for the LSU Sports Network with Chris Blair, John told me that it might be an overhaul again, that LSU men, they're going to lose a lot of players again this year. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. They're going to lose, you're going to lose four seniors as it is,
Wow.
bad students. Jordan Wright, Will Baker, Hunter Dean, and Trey Hannibal, all out of eligibility. And so Mwani Wilkinson was honored the other night as a senior, but he does have a COVID year if he wants to come back next year. So you're losing those four, and obviously you're going to lose Jalen Cook, who was suspended, and is not with the team right now. He has another year left if he wants it, but I don't think it's going to be here. That's just me speculating. We don't know anything else. But, if he could come back or not, I don't know anything about that. Matt McMahon is very tight-lipped about, internal things, so we don't know for sure what's the deal there. But they're going to lose probably 6 players off of this year's team.
Wow.
And they only have 2 coming in so far, 2 freshmen, by the name of Robert Miller and Curtis Givens. Robert Miller is a 6'10", 6'11" kid, and Curtis Givens is he's a I think he's 6'3" point guard. So they got him away from Memphis. So, he's probably pretty good if Penny Hardaway couldn't get him. But, you got these 2 coming in. They're probably going to pick up another guy, maybe a high school kid. If not, they're going to hit the portal again. And I would think they're probably going to get, they brought in 6 from the portal this year. I would think maybe 4 would be more like it, because you have Derek Fountain, who was a senior, who could have been in the senior ceremony the other night. He's apparently elected to come back.
Oh, cool.
Because he didn't participate in senior day. And then they have a guy named Damian Collins, who was a number 15 player in the class a couple of years ago. Went to Kentucky, didn't work out there, came here and was getting ready to be a part of the 8-9-man rotation in the SEC when he dislocated his shoulder, and he's been kind of on the shelf since, trying to get back. Don't know if he had surgery or anything. We're not being told anything about that, but he's got some pieces coming back. And as I told Perrin today, you got a guy named Corey Chess who's redshirting this year. Was the number 1 player in Louisiana last year. So he's coming. You would assume he's going to be back. And then you talk about Jalen Reed and Tyrell Ward and Mike Williams. So those are 3 good players. And what we were talking about on the podcast today is that Matt McMahon, because of where he was at Murray State, he coached at Appalachian State as an assistant for a long time. He's into developing players. He's not the one and done kind of guy, but he will fill in his roster with the transfer portal. So, but he would like to develop a guy like Mike Williams for 3 years or so. He would like to develop Jalen Reed and Tyrell Ward, who I think have made a real big jump from last year. And I think that's the way he wants to do it. He wants to bring in these kids and kind of develop it. And that's how he had to do it at Murray. Look at K.J. Williams. So that's the kind of coach he is. And I think they're going to lose, 5 or 6 players off this team at least. And he's going to bring in a couple of freshmen, and probably they're going to scour the transfer portal. They did a better job. And I'm not going to say they did a bad job when they got here 2 years ago, but the transfer portal was picked over when they got here. Last year they were more, they targeted players. They went into the top 10 conferences in the nation, and they scoured the list, and they found these guys that they brought in. And it was much better cherry picking, if you will. They were able to get in there before all of the good ones were gone.
Well, Sheldon Mickles, I thank you so much for talking to us today, man. I appreciate it. Great guy. Love your columns. Always love your stories, and I appreciate you taking the time for talking to us, and have a safe trip to Nashville, Tennessee, and cover the LSU Tigers, and go Tigers, right?
No problem, Chris, and appreciate the kind words. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, my friend. Sheldon Mickles, man, one of the best. Hall of Famer. Hall of Fame guy. Not many people can say that, but he is a Hall of Fame guy, and he's definitely well-deserving of that big time. When we come back, we're going to be talking Southern University right here. When we return, Fred McNair comes to Southern. We'll talk about that when we come back. It's Talking Sports with Chris Powers. Back in a moment right here on Pelican Sports TV. We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadian I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and starts a party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the Natty Package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10. The 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival is just around the corner, and the fun begins on Saturday, March 23rd for the Julian Dufresh Strawberry Day in the Park. There'll be a wing cook-off, car show, strawberry auction, bake-off, and more. Plenty of fun for the whole family. Then, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival runs from Friday, April 12th to Sunday, April 14th with live music, and the parade is on Saturday, April 13th. Get involved in the egg toss and the always popular strawberry eating contest. Of course, get the best strawberries in the world, grown by local farmers. The biggest festival in the South, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival, April 12th through 14th. We'll see you there.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, as we continue to talk sports here with Chris Powers, and we've got Reggie Flood on the line right now. Reggie, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good.
I'm in a hurry, but I'm good.
I appreciate you joining us. You were the first to break the story that Fred McNair was coming to Baton Rouge to Southern University. So what are you hearing? Did McNair play chicken with Alcorn to get money, or was he seriously thinking about going to Texas Southern?
Well, from what I understand is that he was all but done and ready to go at Texas Southern. His name actually came up for a vote, was coming up for a vote by the Texas Southern Board of Supervisors, by their board, and two members decided to abstain and not show up for the meeting, hoping to get, from what I understand, a bigger name, a bigger draw. And so that's where it put the kibosh on Fred McNair being the head coach at Texas Southern.
Wow. Was the AD the first one interested in him, or was it a board member that reached out and said, we want you to come to Texas Southern?
I think it was the athletic director. Once he realized that, Coach McNair would be available, I think it was some mutual interest, and I don't think Alcorn could match what Coach McNair needed in terms of salary or improvements in facilities and infrastructure.
Wow. Did Alcorn offer him money to stay there at Alcorn?
From what I was told, I can't confirm this, but from what I was told, they did offer him some money. They offered him some money, but just not to the liking, and it definitely didn't match the money that Texas Southern was offering.
Now, did he have a legitimate shot going to Florida A&M? Because I know for the longest time they didn't have a coach. And did he get any consideration at all by going to Florida A&M?
I don't think so.
Wow.
I don't think that was ever a serious consideration. I think Florida, maybe by the athletic director, but you could tell by the way that situation turned out that the athletic director really didn't have the wherewithal to hire who she initially wanted, because the coach who she picked they actually voted down.
Wow.
And they ended up bringing in someone who was already on staff, and that seemed to be the move that powers that be at Florida and him wanted to make.
I mean, are you shocked by that, Reggie? Because, he won 4 Eastern Divisional championships in the SWAC, 2 SWAC championships, even finished for a tie for the West this season, but Prairie View had the tiebreaker over them and went to the title game. Are you kind of shocked he didn't have a head coaching position available?
In today's days and times, no, nothing shocking. You would think that Coach McNair would have had more than his opportunities, more than one opportunity, but in today's landscape, a lot of people want to go in different directions. They wanted to go younger. They like to keep the continuity within the staff for several different reasons, and a lot of times it's just situational. I don't know if Coach McNair wanted to relocate across the country for a job. You know, maybe he wanted to stay within the region. I'm sure some of that plays into him too, being there. So, you know, I'm not shocked by it. And today, like I say, a lot of people want to go in a different direction. A lot of people don't want to quote unquote recycle coaches in this league. So, you know, things like that happen. But you would think that Coach McNair would have had more opportunities than he had to be a head coach somewhere.
No question. So do you think he's going to be good or bad for the Southern Jaguars? He's going to be tight ends coach, and the reason I say that is because you know that if you get too many people, if you've got head coaching experience before, you'll undermine the new head coach and what have you. Oh, I do this way. I wouldn't do it what he's doing and stuff like that. And being Terrence Graves, he's been an interim head coach. But, do you think he's going to be good or bad for the Southern coaching staff?
I think Coach McNair will be just fine. I think he'll be good for Southern. I think he'll come in and lend his hand and do what he's asked to do. Coach McNair is a good guy. He's a knowledgeable guy. He knows football. He's experienced. He and Coach Graves have had a long-term relationship. And so I think he'll come in and he'll be a benefit to Southern's program.
Wow, unbelievable. All right, Reggie Flood, tell everybody where you're at. I know you're at a new place now. You're not at the Jaguar Journal anymore. Tell everybody where you're at. Where can they listen to you and watch you and all that stuff?
They can listen to me daily on WBOK 1230 a.m. in New Orleans, and they can check out the WBOK Facebook page, and they can listen to me 3 times a week on the Big Time Sports Show on HBCU Sports on YouTube, Facebook, and all the social media. The show is going national. We're working out the details, but the show is on, and we're steadily growing. So join us at the Big Time Sports Show on HBCU Sports, YouTube, Facebook, and everywhere.
All right, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you being here. Reggie Flood, covering Southern University sports. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you back here next Monday right here on Pelican Sports TV.